Studying late for an exam. Have you ever stayed up all night studying for an exam, your heart racing as the clock ticks away? What if that one exam could change your entire future? Today's story will take you on an emotional journey that every student can relate to. Subscribe now to Story Driven English for more engaging stories that will improve your English while entertaining you. The alarm clock rang at exactly 6:30 a.m., its shrill sound piercing through the quiet morning air. Alex groaned and reached out from under the warm blankets to silence it. For a moment he considered hitting the snooze button, but the date flashing on his phone screen made his heart skip a beat. May 15th. In exactly 1 week, he would face the most important exam of his life, the university entrance exam that would determine whether he could study medicine, his lifelong dream. Alex rubbed his tired eyes and sat up in bed. His room was a mess. Textbooks scattered across his desk, sticky notes covering the walls, and empty coffee cups piled high beside his laptop. He had been studying for months, but somehow it never felt enough. The weight of his parents' expectations pressed heavily on his shoulders. They had sacrificed so much to give him a good education, working extra jobs and saving every penny. How could he possibly disappoint them? The morning sunlight filtered through the half-drawn curtains as Alex made his way to the bathroom. Looking in the mirror, he noticed the dark circles forming under his eyes. Just 1 more week, he whispered to himself. 1 more week of hard work, and then it will all be over. But deep down, a nagging fear gripped him. What if, despite all his efforts, he failed? After a quick breakfast of toast and orange juice, Alex sat down at his desk and opened his biology textbook. The human anatomy diagrams stared back at him, complex and intimidating. He had reviewed this chapter 3 times already, but the names of bones and muscles seemed to blur together in his mind. Panic began to rise in his chest. How would he remember all this information when it mattered most? Alex took a deep breath and reminded himself of Ms. Chen's advice. Ms. Chen was his favorite teacher, a kind woman in her 50s who had been teaching science for over 20 years. Don't try to memorize everything at once, she had told him. Break it down into smaller parts. Create connections between new information and things you already know. And most importantly, take breaks. Following her guidance, Alex decided to create a study schedule for his final week. He divided each day into 2-hour blocks, alternating between different subjects and including short breaks to rest his mind. The schedule looked intense, but manageable. If he stuck to it diligently, he would cover all the material before the exam. That evening, Alex's phone buzzed with a message from his best friend, David. Hey, want to join us for movie night tomorrow? Everyone's coming, and you've been missing in action for weeks. Alex stared at the message, feeling torn. He missed hanging out with his friends, laughing and forgetting about the pressure of school. But the exam was only a week away. Could he really afford to waste precious hours on entertainment? After careful consideration, Alex typed his reply. Sorry, can't make it. Need to study. Maybe after the exam? He put his phone down, feeling a mixture of regret and determination. This was just a temporary sacrifice, he reminded himself. After the exam, he would have the entire summer to relax and have fun. The next few days passed in a blur of textbooks, practice problems, and flashcards. Alex followed his schedule religiously, waking up early and studying late into the night. His parents watched him with concern, occasionally bringing him snacks and encouraging him to take breaks, but they understood the importance of this exam. His father, a factory worker who had never had the opportunity to attend university, was particularly supportive, often sitting quietly in Alex's room just to keep him company during late-night study sessions. By Thursday night, 3 days before the exam, Alex was beginning to feel confident about most subjects. His mathematics was strong, and he had always excelled in chemistry. Biology was coming together with his organized approach, but physics remained his weakness. No matter how many problems he solved, the concepts of force and motion, electricity, and magnetism seemed to elude his full understanding. That night, Alex decided to focus entirely on physics. He cleared his desk of all other materials and opened his physics notebook to the first page. Starting from the basics and working his way through increasingly complex concepts, he spent hours solving problems and reviewing formulas. The house grew quiet as his parents went to bed, but Alex continued to work under the soft glow of his desk lamp. At around 2 a.m., his eyes began to feel heavy. The symbols and numbers on the page started to blur, and he found himself reading the same paragraph multiple times without comprehending it. Just a quick nap, he thought, resting his head on the desk. 15 minutes, and then I'll get back to work. When Alex opened his eyes again, sunlight was streaming through the window, and birds were chirping outside. He jerked upright in panic, his heart racing as he checked the time, 8:45 a.m. He had slept for nearly 7 hours, losing precious study time. His physics notebook lay open beneath his head, the pages slightly crumpled. No, he muttered, running his hands through his hair in frustration. This wasn't part of the plan. He had intended to complete his physics review and move on to a practice exam by morning. Now his carefully crafted schedule was ruined. Alex's mother knocked gently on his door before entering with a cup of steaming coffee. "You were up so late. I didn't want to wake you," she explained, placing the cup on his desk. "Have you been sleeping at your desk all night?" "I didn't mean to," Alex replied, his voice hoarse from sleep. "I just closed my eyes for a minute, and now I'm behind on everything." His mother sat on the edge of his bed, her expression concerned but gentle. "Alex, you can't keep pushing yourself like this. It's not healthy. But the exam is in 2 days, he protested. "I'm not ready yet, especially for physics." "You won't be ready if you exhaust yourself either," she pointed out. "Your brain needs rest to function properly. Why don't you have some breakfast first, and then get back to studying with a fresh mind?" Though reluctant, Alex knew she was right. He followed her to the kitchen, where she prepared eggs and toast while he sat at the table, still mentally calculating how to restructure his study plan. After breakfast, he felt more alert and returned to his room with renewed determination. That Friday, Alex decided to take a different approach. Instead of trying to review everything about physics, he would focus on the most important concepts, the ones most likely to appear on the exam based on past papers. He had already built a solid foundation. Now he needed to strategize. He called David, who was also preparing for the same exam, but had always been stronger in physics. "Could you explain the concept of electromagnetic induction to me?" Alex asked. "I keep getting confused about Lenz's law and how it relates to Faraday's law." David, despite his own study commitments, spent an hour on the phone with Alex, patiently explaining the concepts and working through sample problems together. "Think of it this way," David said. "Nature is lazy. It always opposes change. When you try to create a magnetic field, it creates a current that makes a magnetic field in the opposite direction." Something clicked in Alex's mind. "So it's like pushing against a door, and the door pushes back?" "Exactly!" David exclaimed. "You've got it. It's about opposition." By the end of the call, Alex felt more confident about electromagnetic induction than he had after reading the textbook multiple times. "Thanks, David," he said gratefully. "I owe you one." "No problem," David replied. "That's what friends are for. And hey, after this exam is over, you're definitely coming to the beach party, no excuses." Alex laughed. "Absolutely. I could use a day at the beach after all this." As Saturday arrived, the day before the exam, Alex shifted into final preparation mode. Rather than trying to learn new material, he focused on reviewing what he already knew, taking practice tests, and identifying any remaining gaps in his knowledge. His room had transformed even further into a study sanctuary, with color-coded notes taped to every available surface and mind maps spread across the floor. In the afternoon, Ms. Chen had organized an optional review session at school for her students. Alex arrived early, choosing a seat in the front row. About 15 other students joined, all looking as tired and anxious as he felt. Ms. Chen began by addressing their visible stress. "I know you're all feeling the pressure," she said kindly. "But remember, this exam is important, but it doesn't define your worth or your future. All I ask is that you do your best." She then proceeded to review the most challenging topics, offering clear explanations and answering questions. When Alex raised his hand to ask about a specific physics problem, Ms. Chen used an everyday example that made the concept crystal clear. The 2 hours flew by, and by the end, Alex felt more prepared than he had in weeks. As he walked home from school, the setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. For the first time in months, Alex allowed himself to slow down and appreciate the beauty around him. The neighborhood children were playing in the park, their laughter carrying on the gentle breeze. An old couple walked hand in hand, their faces peaceful and content. Life continued beyond exams and grades, he realized. This thought brought him unexpected comfort. That evening, his parents surprised him with his favorite meal, spaghetti with homemade meatballs, and insisted he join them at the dining table rather than eating in his room. "You need to relax a little," his father said, serving him a generous portion. "Your brain has absorbed all it can by now." After dinner, Alex reviewed his notes one final time, focusing on the key formulas and concepts that had given him trouble. But by 10 p.m., he made the conscious decision to stop studying. Ms. Chen had always advised against last-minute cramming, saying it led to confusion rather than clarity. Instead, he packed his backpack for tomorrow, 2 calculators, one as backup, multiple pens, his ID card, and a water bottle. Before going to bed, Alex set not 1 but 3 alarms to ensure he would wake up on time. The exam was scheduled for 9 a.m., but he wanted to arrive at least an hour early to settle his nerves and mentally prepare. As he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, he tried to quiet his racing thoughts. "I've done everything I can," he told himself. "Whatever happens tomorrow, I know I've given it my all." Sleep didn't come easily that night. Alex tossed and turned, his mind replaying formulas and definitions, constructing and deconstructing essays for potential questions. When he did drift off, his dreams were filled with exam halls and ticking clocks, running out of time before he could finish writing. Trindas. Morning arrived with the harsh sound of his first alarm. Alex awoke instantly, a mixture of dread and anticipation flooding his system. He went through his morning routine mechanically, shower, breakfast, double-checking his backpack, and then triple-checking it just to be sure. His mother drove him to the exam center, the car ride mostly silent as Alex mentally reviewed key concepts one last time. At a red light, she reached over and squeezed his hand. "You'll do great," she said softly. "I'm already proud of you no matter what." The exam center was bustling with activity when they arrived. Hundreds of students milled about outside, some reviewing notes frantically, others chatting with friends. To ease their nerves, Alex spotted David and a few other classmates standing near the entrance. He joined them after saying goodbye to his mother. "Ready for this?" David asked, looking almost as nervous as Alex felt. "As ready as I'll ever be," Alex replied, attempting a confident smile. The waiting was perhaps the hardest part. Each minute seemed to stretch endlessly as they stood outside, watching more and more students arrive. When the doors finally opened, a collective tension filled the air. Students filed in slowly, showing their IDs and being directed to their assigned seats. Alex's seat was in the middle of the large hall, surrounded by unfamiliar faces. The exam papers lay face down on each desk, mysterious and intimidating. A stern-looking supervisor at the front explained the rules. "No talking, no electronic devices. Raise your hand if you need assistance, and stop writing immediately when instructed." And then, with a simple, "You may begin," the rustling of papers filled the hall as hundreds of students turned over their exam papers simultaneously. Alex took a deep breath and looked at the first page. To his relief, the first section was chemistry, one of his strongest subjects. He worked through the questions methodically, managing his time carefully as Ms. Chen had taught them. When he reached the physics section, he felt a momentary panic, but then remembered David's explanation and approached each problem step by step. 3 hours passed in what felt like both an eternity and an instant. When the supervisor announced, 5 minutes remaining, Alex was just finishing the last question. He used the remaining time to review his answers, catching a calculation error in one of the physics problems and correcting it just before the final "Stop writing now" announcement. As he handed in his paper and walked out of the exam hall, Alex felt strangely empty. For months, his every waking moment had been focused on this exam, and now it was over. Students around him were animatedly discussing the questions, debating answers, but Alex remained quiet, mentally exhausted, yet relieved. Outside, his mother was waiting, her face anxious. "How did it go?" she asked as soon as she saw him. "I think it went well," Alex replied, surprising himself with the realization. The physics section wasn't as bad as I expected. The drive home was much lighter than the morning journey. Alex found himself talking about the exam questions, explaining the tricky parts and how he had approached them. His mother listened attentively, smiling at his renewed energy. At home, his father was waiting with a celebratory lunch. Regardless of the results, he said, raising his glass of lemonade in a toast. We're celebrating your hard work and dedication today. Over the next few weeks, Alex gradually returned to normal life. He reconnected with friends, started reading fiction again, a pleasure he had denied himself during exam preparation, and even began volunteering at the local animal shelter, something he had always wanted to do but never found time for. Results would not be released for another month, but strangely, Alex found himself less anxious about them than he had expected. The intense study period had taught him something valuable about himself: his capacity for focus, discipline, and perseverance. These qualities, he realized, would serve him well in life, regardless of his exam scores. On a warm afternoon in late June, Alex was playing basketball with David when his phone rang. It was his mother, her voice trembling with excitement. "The results are out," she said. "They've been posted online." Alex's heart raced as he and David rushed to the nearest library to use the computers. With shaking hands, he logged into the examination board's website and entered his candidate number. For a moment, the screen seemed to freeze, and then the results appeared. He had passed, not just passed, but excelled. His overall score placed him well above the cutoff for medicine at the university of his choice. The physics section, which had caused him so many sleepless nights, showed a score of 92 out of 100. David whooped and clapped him on the back, attracting stern looks from the librarian. "I knew you could do it," he exclaimed in a stage whisper. All that late-night studying paid off. That evening, Alex's parents took him out to his favorite restaurant to celebrate. As they enjoyed their meal, his father turned serious for a moment. "You know," he said, "your determination reminded me of myself at your age. I wanted to study engineering, but my family couldn't afford university." He smiled, his eyes glistening slightly. "Seeing you achieve your dream, it feels like a part of my dream coming true, too." Alex felt a lump in his throat. "I couldn't have done it without your support," he replied honestly. "Both of you." Later that night, alone in his room, Alex looked at his study notes still pinned to the walls. He began taking them down one by one, reflecting on the journey of the past few months. The late nights, the frustrations, the moments of clarity, all had contributed to this outcome. His phone buzzed with messages from friends who had also received their results. Most were celebrating, though some had fallen short of their goals. Alex reached out to those friends with words of encouragement, understanding now that an exam result, however important, was just one step in a longer journey. As he prepared for bed, Alex glanced at his desk, clean and organized for the first time in months. On it lay a new notebook, waiting to be filled with notes from his first year of medical school. The challenge ahead would be even greater than the one he had just overcome, but he felt ready. He had learned that with focus, support, and perseverance, he could face whatever came his way. And most importantly, he had learned that sometimes studying late for an exam was about more than just passing a test. It was about discovering his own strength and determination. As he drifted off to sleep, Alex smiled, grateful for the journey and excited for what lay ahead. Key vocabulary: repeated throughout exam. A formal test to show your knowledge or ability in a particular subject. Example: The university entrance exam would determine his future. Study. To spend time learning about a subject. Example. Alex had been studying for months. Prepare. To make yourself ready for something that will happen. Example. He was preparing for the most important exam of his life. Pressure. The feeling of stress caused by demanding situations. Example. The weight of his parents' expectations pressed heavily on his shoulders. Schedule. A plan of what someone is going to do and when they are going to do it. Example. Alex decided to create a study schedule for his final week. Determination. The quality of being firm in purpose and not giving up easily. Example. He put his phone down, feeling a mixture of regret and determination. Concept. An idea or principle related to something. Example. The concepts of force and motion seem to elude his full understanding. Review. To look at or examine something again. Example. He spent hours reviewing formulas and solving problems. Anxiety. A feeling of worry or nervousness about something. Example. Each minute seemed to stretch endlessly as anxiety built up. Result. The outcome or consequence of an action. Example. The results would not be released for another month. Perseverance. Continued effort and determination despite difficulties. Example. These qualities of focus, discipline, and perseverance would serve him well in life. Achievement. Something important that you succeed in doing by your own efforts. Example. Seeing you achieve your dream. It feels like a part of my dream coming true too. Thank you for watching today's story on Story-Driven English. If you enjoyed this journey with Alex and learned some new English vocabulary along the way, please like this video and share it with friends who are also learning English. Don't forget to comment below with your own exam experiences. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want more engaging stories to improve your English, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. See you in our next story.